steady and better.
What's going on? What is going on? Let me know if you guys can hear me. Let me know. Let me know. We're doing something different today. We're doing something different today. And that is because Zambia, my beloved Zambia, is tallying up their elections today, and I have to cover it. I have to cover it because Zambia is my retirement home. So Zambia's elections are very important to me. I know, and I've never told a lot of you this story, but in 2021, I was one of the first people to predict that Hakainde Hichilema was going to win the elections against former President Edgar Lungu. And I did that by running a stratified sampling poll online across all of Zambia, and I was able to predict very close to the right numbers that Hakainde Hichilema was going to win the election, and that was going to be UPND's first victory in 2021. Now, fast forward 5 years in, for those of you, my American audience that don't know about this country, I don't have a stake in this. I always think with Zambia, may the best candidate win. So I'm very neutral in terms of who is going to win. I'm not biased. But here are some of Hakainde's accomplishments, which I'm just saying this off the top of my head. Nothing has been scripted. I know he had a few bills passed. I think the most controversial one was something called a Bill 7. I know also that he implemented what is called CDF, which was decentralizing how government spends money in each constituency, right? So instead of the central government spending the money on behalf of the constituents, the money was actually given to the constituents to decide how to spend it, right? Which meant that they took out a lot of the red tape and the money went straight to the people. So he was really rewarded for doing that. He also restructured Zambia's debt, which was one of the biggest problems for Zambia. For many years, they have struggled to get a deal on their debt problem, and it looks like Hakainde Hichilema's government was able to accomplish that. One of the biggest victories for his administration was the fact that he was able to stabilize Zambia's currency. I remember a year ago, $1 was about 28 Zambian kwacha. As of today, it's about 18, 19 kwacha, 19 kwacha to the dollar, right? So his currency is one of the best performing currencies in all of Africa, right, against the US dollar, which meant that inflation has stabilized, food inflation has stabilized. They've also had very successful harvest over the past 3 years, back to back to back, to the point where they even have a food surplus, and they're selling some of this food to neighboring countries like the DRC, right? So on the macroeconomic front, if you're an outside observer, you're going to say that Hakainde Hichilema's government has performed very well on a macro sphere, right? Macroeconomic sphere. Stabilize the currency, reduce inflation, improve the job outlook, investor confidence. There's a lot of investment going into Zambia right now from all directions. The Americans are interested. The Chinese are interested. I remember when I was in Zambia in October, a week before my trip, the Chinese premier had been in Zambia, and Donald Trump Jr. had been in Zambia, right? So this is how much pressure or attention that Zambia is receiving because of the gold mines, the copper mines, the cobalt, and all these precious minerals that Zambia has. However, the sentiment on the ground, if you talk to the average Zambian, it's a little bit tough, right? It's a little bit tough for the average Zambian because they were very much used to the previous government that had a little bit more liquidity. There was a lot more money in the system, they say, right? Because the Chinese gave Edgar Lungu's administration a lot of money, right? And that's why most Zambians felt that even though the Edgar Lungu administration had some issues, ordinary Zambians felt better about their outlook and their economic outlook, right? But they didn't do so well on the macroeconomic front. So, having said all of this, I wasn't going to cover this election because I thought it was going to be an easy run and an easy victory for the UPND, which is Hakainde Hichilema's government. But when the early results started coming in, there's a lady called Iris Kaingu, who was independent, and she grew up with a lot of scandals. She's kind of like a celebrity, a Facebook personality. I wasn't expecting her to win. So when she won her seat against the incumbent, I was like, wait a minute, what is going on here? And then I went back and I looked at Gary Nkombo. So for my Zambians in the chat, you probably know who these names. The Americans would know, you guys will catch up. But Gary Nkombo, who used to be in the UPND and was a very close ally to the president and had fallen out with the president, decided to run as an independent for Mazabuka. I've been to Mazabuka, nice place, just right before Magoye. And Gary Nkombo has lost that seat. And that is when I knew, and that's Southern Province, so that's predominantly UPND. So the UPND candidate was expected to win, but I thought because Gary was already the incumbent MP of that place, it was going to be an easy run. So Zambia, once again, is surprising everybody. That's what I'm seeing from here. Zambia is starting to surprise everybody, just like they did in 2021. Also, so this is called the Tonse Alliance. For non-Zambians, this might be a little bit difficult, but the keywords are such that I know there's going to be a lot of Zambians in the chat. So we will speak as if you guys know. All right. Brian Mundibele of the Tonse Alliance, who has just catapulted himself on the national stage, but he had been an MP. I wasn't expecting him to do this well so far. And we're going to go over the numbers. I've seen the numbers. It's still early, but so far, he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do. Why am I saying that? To win in Zambia, you have to win Lusaka, right? You have to win Lusaka if you are UPND. But you don't have to win Lusaka. I'm going to use their old name, PF, because it's easier for me to say PF, right? Not the Tonse Alliance. I'm just going to say PF. If you are the PF, you can always win an election without Lusaka. But for UPND, you have to win Lusaka, right? The Copper Belt so far is hands down gone to the PF guys. It's not even close, right? It's not close. So that tells me that this election is going to be much closer than any analyst anticipated. And that's very surprising to me, right? Let's start with the northern provinces, right? So we're going to start with Luapula. The UPND has made some strides in Luapula, but the data that is coming out of Luapula so far shows that Brian Mundibele has won Luapula province. That's not even debatable. Okay? So one province down. Then you go to Northern Province, and that is a given. Brian Mundibele has won Northern Province. Okay? This is why I'm saying he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do. Like sometimes you have to narrow down politics to a regional map and ask yourself, are your numbers coming in the way they are supposed to? And so far, his numbers are coming in very strongly the way they are supposed to. The numbers that I've seen so far, he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do in those provinces. So Luapula, he's really overperforming in Luapula, doing exactly what he's supposed to do. In Northern Province, he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do. He's winning that hands down. And then if you go down to Muchinga Province, he's also winning, which is a much smaller province, but it still matters because you want to group this into the 10 provinces so that it makes the analysis a lot more easier, right? Which means that the PF guys are winning exactly what they're supposed to win when it comes to the northern provinces. Now, when you come to Central Province, we don't have a lot of data yet. So we're going to see what happens in Central Province. That's going to be particularly very interesting to me because Central Province has been one of the best beneficiaries of CDF and also some of Hakainde Hichilema's agricultural programs. They seem to have been one of the direct beneficiaries of it. So it's going to be very interesting to know because that's where everything crosses, right? So we'll see what happens in Central Province. But then when you come down to the Copper Belt, it looks like Brian Mundubile is hands down winning the Copper Belt. Okay? So that 2 million margin that we saw in 2021 is not going to be the case. That's over. This is going to be a much closer election than most analysts predicted. And that, like me myself, I was never going to follow this election because I thought Hakainde Hichilema was going to win it. I wasn't even going to think about it, right? They're not doing so well in the parliamentary as well. So this is very, very shocking to me. Like I said, when I started this broadcast, I talked about some of the accomplishments of Hichilema over the past 5 years, thinking that such macroeconomic success would translate to 5 more years. But that doesn't seem to be the case. These guys have been very, very competitive. There is no doubt that they are going to win Eastern Province because all the numbers that have come out so far about the four Eastern Provinces constituencies that they've mentioned, Brian Mundubile is winning those. So you can just project out and say that he's going to win all of Eastern Province as well. And Eastern Province has a big population. It's really important to factor in, when you're doing survival of the fittest, you can cut out some parts of the country and say, if you win this, you're doing what you're supposed to do. And like I said, so far, Northern Province, Luapula, Muchinga, and Eastern Provinces that he's supposed to win, he is winning those. It's not even debatable. He's winning them, and he's winning them quite strongly than most people predicted. So the battlefield is going to be what happens in Lusaka, the Copper Belt, and Central Province. And I predict whoever wins Central Province is going to win this election. Lusaka will not matter. If you win Central Province, you win this election because Mundubile has already won the Copper Belt, which tells me that even if Hichilema wins Lusaka he may not have enough. So let's assume he wins Lusaka. Then that puts Central Province at play. And look, Central Province historically follows what happens in the Copper Belt and the Northern Provinces. There's some tribal elements there. So if I'm UPND, I don't feel good that I flunked it so much in the Copper Belt. He did horribly in the Copper Belt. It's so bad. The numbers that have come out, he's done horribly in the Copper Belt. And that's the second populous region or province in the country. So Lusaka is up for play because it's always going to be a 45-55, right? So he needs a very strong showing in Lusaka. Now let's talk about the UPND strongholds. Okay, let's start with Southern Province. That's a given. Brian Mundubile doesn't have to do anything in the Southern Province, and he doesn't expect anything out of the Southern Province. So the ruling party is going to win the Southern Province without a doubt, right? And they're going to win it strongly and overwhelmingly. And that also goes with the Northwestern Province and also Western Provinces, all right? These are places that they predominantly win. They've won it historically over many, many election cycles. I expect that to stay the same. However, if you look at the population dynamics, if you add everything up from Northern Province, Northwest Province to Western Province and Southern Province, you add that population together, you can cancel out those numbers with the Copper Belt, Eastern Province, and Northern Province, Muchinga, Luapula combined. Those numbers will even out, okay? They will even out. So that's why I said the battlefield now is Central Province. Who wins Central Province? And how much does UPND win Lusaka? That's a big issue. And if they will win Lusaka, right? Because see, Lusaka is the elites. And usually the elite towns tend to not vote with a tribal lens. They vote based on the issues, right? Because it's a more affluent, it's more educated. So I don't expect Lusaka to be a slam dunk. I hate to say this, but I don't like the UPND's chances so far from what I have seen. I don't like their chances at all. We're going to cut to some people. I'm going to go to Diamond TV, see what they are talking about. And then we're going to look at some few controversial Zambian analysts. Some of the guys I have on my list is Chilufya Tayali. I'm sure some of you know him. I like Tayali. I hope he doesn't speak Bemba so that we can all understand him. So we're going to check out what Chilufya Tayali is saying. We're also going to listen to the Nigerian guy, Sia1. Every Zambian knows who he is. He's Nigerian, but seems to be very, very interested in Zambian politics. And I know at some point he lived in Zambia and he had a church in Zambia and he got kicked out by the previous administration. So he has a personal vendetta against them. And he's obviously supporting Hakainde Hichileman's party. We're going to see what he's saying. Because like I said, I'm very objective here because I have no stake in this. I don't care who wins the election, right? I just want it to be peaceful and nice because Zambia is my retirement plan, right? So I hope that it goes well. As a Chongwe resident myself, I expect that this should go well for everybody, right? So let's go. We're going to go, I think, and then there's Emmanuel Mwamba, who is here in the U.S. now. And I also look at CR1, Emmanuel Mwamba, JJ Banda, right? I'm sure some of you know who JJ Banda is, who is a fugitive, quote unquote. We'll look at some of his talking points too. I don't know if Samuel Mwalane has made any videos. We're going to look at all these other Zambian groups. And while we go through those videos, we will look at some of the data, right? We'll go through some of the data. I expect this to be about a 1 hour broadcast. And then, we'll see how it goes. So let's start looking for. Let's start with CR1 because he's of particular interest to me. Let's listen to CR1.
Permit me to say this. I'm disappointed in Mondobele. Very, very disappointed. He has allowed young people, amateur people, to deceive him. Look, when you are a leader in an election time, you must be careful of what you say. You must be careful. Any little thing you say, it will cause chaos in the country. When people coming and saying I've won the election, declaring himself as the winner, when the voting and the totaling we are not yet done, what do you expect?
Well, everybody does that in an election. Everybody declares victory in an election. You are free to declare victory if you think you won, or if your tallies and your numbers look right. I think in a democracy, you can do that. It's a psychological tactic that every democracy seems to have. So I don't think Brian Mundibele is wrong for being very confident and saying that he's won the election. However, only the ECZ can certify the election winner and can announce the election winner. So that shouldn't be something that should be treasonous or punishable. I don't think anybody should take this seriously. Let me see if your comments are coming in. For some reason, I don't see them. Hold on. There you go. Okay. So it looks like they're coming in now. For some reason, they were not coming up on this side. Let me see. Check. They are not coming. Oh, there you go. So they are coming in. There you go. They are coming in. Let's keep going.
The entire country was set on fire. As I speak to you, the report has come that 3 people already died. His supporters went around beating people, going from house to house, beating people. 3 people are dead because of that remark he made. Please, let me make this thing clear to you. As an opposition, if you want to win a sitting president, the victory must be massive. The victory must be clear, not even what. The victory must be clear. So long as you don't have a clear victory, you can never remove a sitting president. In an election where a sitting president is winning votes, is getting 50%, 60%, 30%, even 20% from your stronghold, even beating you in your own bedroom with the seat where you were seated, Mporokoso. The sitting president took it from you. You came to Lusaka. A sitting president has won 11 seats out of 18 seats. You only managed to grab only but 6. Why are you claiming victory? I mean, why did you come to claim victory? Is that not total confusion? Let me also tell you this. In every election, once the totaling is done, the United Nations election observers, they have the results. And immediately that happens. So if you are the one winning, automatically the allegiance of the police, the army, all these agencies, you through the command of the United Nations, we move to you. You don't need to call them to come. Automatically, you will just see your house being surrounded by the police and the army. They give you protection. And they now be talking to the sitting president to concede defeat. But as you can see, all these people have the tabulation. HH has won the election with over 56%.
So this guy is very passionate about Chellah and the UPND. So I understand his sentiment. Again, I want to be objective here. The numbers he just mentioned, that's not what we're getting out of ECZ right now, right? So far, there are places that I haven't looked at in Porocoso where he said, but the numbers I have looked at and everybody else has seen, even though it's only 22 numbers have come out officially, but it's about 30 constituencies that people know exactly what happened. And you can also tell by the parliamentary, like who the MPs are, right? The MPs that are winning is giving people insight into what the presidential looks like. Because a lot of people tend to vote like that. They vote MP and president for the same party, which is very, very common with Zambia's history. For what he's saying, it doesn't add up. I don't think claiming early victory is why people have died. Zambia, even though has always had peaceful elections, every election cycle, there's a couple people that would die. And I hate to say that, but that's the truth. From my personal observation, I have seen at least up to 10 people die every election cycle. So this is still within the things that typically happens with elections in most Southern African countries, right? It's not as the tension is not as crazy as it does in West Africa. I think they do it a whole lot better than we do. But again, still, this guy, CR1, he's got a lot of stake in this. He makes a lot of money from Zambia. So he needs the ruling party to stay in power. He really needs them to stay in power. And then he also has personal beef with Mundubele's party because they kicked him and destroyed his church out of Zambia. He's a pastor. Or Papa, who, these churches, they call him Papa. I don't even want to call him a pastor. So he has some stake here. That's why I said this is the better broadcast for Zambians, because I'm going to cover all the different dimensions, all the different sides of the debate. And we're going to keep it real when it comes to the numbers, because I've looked at the numbers so far, what has been reported. Brian Mundubele seems to be doing very, very well in the places that he's supposed to do well. Chellah is doing very, very well in the places that he's supposed to be doing well. A few 1 or 2 towns will flip here and there, 1 or 2 constituencies will flip here and there. But if you aggregate it provincial-wise, the PF guys are winning what they're supposed to win better than they did in 2021, no doubt. The UPND guys are doing what they're supposed to do, but they need Lusaka. They need the capital city to make this a wrap. They cannot win this without Lusaka. They need Lusaka plus one more. The plus one has to come from the north, either of the northern provinces, so Muchinga, Luapula, and northern province. They need one of those for the numbers to make sense, or central province. They need one. They are not getting the copper belt. That's already out. So with the copper belt out, if you add all the population of northwestern province, western province, southern province, and you split Lusaka, which is typically what's going to happen, that's not enough votes to win. He needs to win one of the northern provinces or central province. This is why I said whoever wins central province wins this election. And if you are UPND, you don't feel good if you have to decide an election based on central province, because traditionally it's not been a stronghold, right? I don't even think they won it in 2021. I can go back and look at it. But those are the numbers, right? Those are the numbers. We're going to go to the ECZ website. We'll look at the total registered votes. We'll do some numbers. We'll try to see if we can predict based on what is coming out. But right now, I don't feel good if I'm UPND from what I'm seeing so far. It's still early, but I don't feel too good.
50. I didn't want to say this because we are told not to allow ECZ to say it. But I mean, it has gone beyond. This thing has gone beyond waiting. There is nothing we are waiting for because these guys are misbehaving. How does a person like you, in this tense moment, come and say, "I've won"? What do you want your supporters to do? They went around and started beating people. And I'm seeing people crying now. Hey, what? Hey, what? Hey, what? No. Ask anyone all over the world. If you want to beat a sitting president, you must defeat him massively. HH defeated ECA with over 1 million votes. Chiluba defeated Kenneth Kaunda, black and blue. How many am I going to mention? To remove a sitting president, you must win convincingly. A sitting president is busy collecting votes from your strongholds. And you still have the audacity to come and say, "I've won." I look at your members. I ask them, are you mad? In Lusaka, where you are supposed to win convincingly, the sitting president has won 11 seats. You only got 6, beating you with over.
Okay, again, that is untrue. The PF lost Lusaka in 2021, and the PF lost the Copper Belt for the first time in 2021. Right? That's why I'm saying the numbers have to add up. You have to win, and that's why it was so easy and so decisive for the UPND. Because they've always fallen short, right? So for them to make it work, they had to win Lusaka and the Copper Belt, which they did. The Copper Belt is now out of the question. They are losing the Copper Belt, right? Brian Mundubele has won the Copper Belt. I'm letting you guys know right now, okay? Brian Mundubele has won the Copper Belt. So that is no longer in play. UPND, the ruling party, because that's the center of administration, that's where everybody is, that's where all the civil servants are. They are very happy. They've been having a good 5 years. I expect most of the government workers to vote for the government in power. So they have to win Lusaka. UPND has to win Lusaka. It's not like, oh, you won this many seats in Lusaka. No, they have to win Lusaka. And I think if I'm looking at my numbers, right, and they look right, they have to win Lusaka overwhelmingly. Like, they don't have to win it like slowly. They have to win it overwhelmingly. So I think, again, these are party people, UPND guy. I don't have a stake in this. I'm right in the middle. But this guy is supporting UPND. So I see why he's, even though this is not backed by the data so far, I see why he's saying that. It makes sense because these are high stakes now, right? But the data right now suggests that if you aggregate Northern Province, Luapula Province, and Muchinga, Eastern, and the Copper Belt, that is 5 provinces that Brian Mundibele has won. It's not even debatable. According to the preliminary numbers, he has won these 5 provinces. Even the MPs in these areas is a reflection of that. That is very different from 2021, where the Copper Belt flipped. Okay? So for HH to remain in power, he has to win Lusaka. And I think he has to even win more in Lusaka, right? Winning Lusaka right now is a must. Winning Central Province is a must because Lusaka alone is not enough to do it. Remember, if you tally up the 5 provinces that I just mentioned, it's still more populous than Northwestern, Western, and Southern combined. And Lusaka is always going to be a split, right? So he needs to win Lusaka overwhelmingly. He needs to win at least the Central Province for this to be a cakewalk. I think it's going to be more difficult than these guys are making it out to be. I'm very surprised how close this election are. If Hakainde Hichilema wins, I think it's going to be by a small margin. He's going to, stretch it out by a small margin. I think so. But I don't feel good. I don't feel good about their chances. And I'm shocked that it even got this close, right? I'm very, very, very shocked.
5 seats. Where is the winning coming from? Because you watch so much these stranded idiots abroad. This what does he call? What do they call themselves? These fools that are busy begging money abroad. Help me! I need money for water. I need money for this. Help me! I need money for my business. Hey, subscribe to my channel. What? Those are people you are listening to. What do they know about politics? I gave you advice as a man that knows politics. So it's okay. I mean, you have done well. 30% is a lot. You can build from there. You don't want, but how do you think you can win a church? Please, you don't have election monitors.
Okay, so that's we've heard from this side. We're gonna go to Emmanuel Mwamba. So I played CR1 because that's the UPND side. I want to see what Emmanuel Mwamba is saying, and then we're gonna look at Lilian Mutambo. Let me pull up Lilian Mutambo because she's been doing a lot of videos. Lilian Mutambo has been doing a lot of videos. So let's see what her latest video is. I also heard Brian Mondibele talk about being attacked. I don't know how true that was. But let's see what Lilian Mutambo, what is the latest video coming out of her? Let's see. I think this is the one I watch in the morning.
9. Mushimba.
Has she removed the videos? It looks like she's removed the videos. She may have removed the videos. All right, we'll see if we can find another one. Let's see. She had some videos out this morning. Oh, there it is, right here. Okay, let's see.
What is that? And 20s. And the aim was to go and rob those 20s and take them so they start altering. As we speak right now, there is somebody in Civic Center who are speaking Tonga, Bagwambaji Tonga. They are there changing the results. Zambia is not for your tribe. Zambia is for everybody. You cannot wake up and think you can change the results. The delay in announcing of the results shows how this ECZ has failed and they're incompetent. It's better.
I want to correct that too, because that's not a delay, right? They still have 1 week, according to the Constitution, to read the results. So like I said, whenever I like that I'm in the middle of this and I'm not taking a side because I love Zambians, right? I don't care what party they belong to. I love these people, man. So I just want the best for the country. And when I look, I can look at everybody's concern, the left, the right, and objectively look at what they're saying as without looking at this through a party lens, right? So that's some untruths here, right? The ECZ historically has not announced the elections within 3 days of it. Now in 2021, they got it a little bit faster because of just how much ass whooping the PF took. That was a beat down, right? So that was so obvious, right? But I think right now they're still within that framework. They're tallying it. You know, it's very hard to get these numbers out of some of the rural parts of Zambia. It's very difficult to get those numbers. So you have to give them time. It's usually the rural numbers that makes the process harder. But in the cities, those numbers have already been tallied up, right? You know?
Better we have an independent organization to announce the results. When the results are announced at all polling stations or tallying centers, they tell us who has been given the position as member of parliament. And this comes from the people, not you Hakainde Chilema in your house. You think you can take Zambia however you want. You must concede defeat. You have lost this election, and you know that. Right now, Chilanga MP has won under NRPUP. Guess what? Because of this delay of the results announcements, they want to give it to the UPND member. As what? For what reason do you want to do that? Why do you want to give a UPND member to be the MP of Chilanga when our member has won and Mundu across the country has won so much?
My wife is a Chilanga girl. My wife is from Chilanga. I know Chilanga very well.
Even in Lusaka, even in the constituencies where you say that people have voted for your MPs, they have voted for Mundu. He has defeated you in many constituencies in Lusaka. Copper Belt West. So the ECZ is incompetent at this time because they are waiting for what their master is saying. We never saw this. Hakainde Hichilema, if this is what we did to you in 2021, if this is what Zambia did to you in 2021, you wouldn't be president today. But Zambians stood for you. You protected your voice.
What is shocking here for the non-Zambians that are listening, Lillian used to be a supporter of the president. So I don't know what happened that she tried to run for office under the president. She lives in the UK. And I think they didn't adopt her. So that may have raised some concerns and it soured their relationship. So I think this is why she moved over to the PF. This woman was very instrumental in making Hakainde Hichilema win in 2021. I mean, she was one of the soldiers online on Facebook that pushed the UPND to victory. So I think they did her dirty, right? I'll be honest. They did her dirty. They didn't give her the stuff that she wanted to get. And this is why she's joined the opposition, even though she really hated the PF. She couldn't. If I go back to play some of her old videos that she did about the PF, they were very effective. But this time, I think she's not as effective as she used to be. And that's because her personality is a bit off. When she goes live, she goes crazy, But I like Lillian Mutambo on a personal level. I know she's going through it. It's charged. Both sides are saying whatever they can say. And I'll give you one thing. This is why it's always important to get the results fast so that these people don't make all these claims and these allegations. Just get those results in very fast, Learn from Ghana. Ghana gets this done in 3 days. In 3 days, the results are out, you're done, right? You stretch it out a week, then you start getting a bit of distrust in the population, and that's where we get to today, right? That both sides are really, really going after it.
What? And we made sure that the results that were counted are the ones that we're giving people. Okay? Today is it the 15th? 15th. You told us the results will be announced by 17th. You are now dididaring. You announced 4 constituencies in your strongholds so that you should send the perception like you are doing well. Your members are posting, Chabinga has won, so has won. You are telling me Chabinga can beat that lady Muntali in Mafinga. The same Babalao that supports Hakainde Hichilema posted on Facebook that Iris has lost. And yet Iris has won. They want us to believe they are doing well. There is no way you can tell me. There is no way you can tell me. Get out of my page, piece of shit. You don't come to my page and start insulting me.
That's the personality of Lillian I was talking about. When she gets, she's direct like that. She loses her emotions, But that's that. She doesn't know how to handle the trolls. I think we all get there from time to time. We all do that from time to time. But particularly Lillian she doesn't do a good job when it comes to that. Let's keep going.
Oh, my mother. Nonsense. Have respect. I'm not your relative. Your president has lost this election and he must concede defeat. So all these things they are doing to delay announcing of the results, they thought they could sneak in ballots. Anyone who's trying to sneak in ballots, we have caught them. Imagine in Chawama. Luckily, they had counted the president.
This is unrelated, but if you look at what Afro Think Tank was saying about how women are abused in Africa and all this nonsense they say about African women, look at how charged an African woman is fighting for her country politically, right? The chairperson of this organization, ECZ, the Electoral Commission of Zambia, the chairperson is a woman. The previous one was also a woman. Okay, so these things they talk about, some of the big party leaders are women. The vice president of Zambia right now is a woman. So are there some gender-based violence that goes on? Yes, I think the numbers are not as bad as we see here in the West. But, I was very disappointed in Afro Think Tank making a video to make it look like this is one of the biggest things that Africans do. They don't give us our credit for how far we've come when it comes to our genders and how much powerful our women have become in the political arena, not just in sciences and education, but now even in politics, man. I mean, you got a whole woman running Tanzania right now, and she's a dictator. Okay, but they'll never give us credit for it. But Lillian is anyway. Let's keep going.
Presidential, the MP, most of them except the councillor one. They were about to start the councillor one. Guess what? Carters came in and took the ballots. And we've seen ballot papers in the street. It has never happened in a democratic country. HH, we all Chhellah. Zambia is not a country. Get out of my page.
All right, so these are high stakes. I understand them. This is why I wanted to do the video today, because I can be seen as an objective voice, right? I can't take sides. If I take sides, they won't allow me into Zambia, right? I don't want that, because Zambia is my retirement plan. So I want to be objective. I'm not taking sides. May the best candidate win, okay? But when there are some falsehoods, I'm going to debunk what I think are falsehoods. And this is why I'm giving this equal opportunity on both sides. So we played Sia 1, we've played Lilia Mutambo. We're going to try and get Chilufya Tayali, who is another interesting character. We'll try and get Samuel Mwalane if he's commented on it. That's another interesting character. And then Tayali is tricky because he might not have it in English. That's why I'm a little bit skeptical there. But let's go to Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, because he had one of my favorite guys on there, Dr. Sichua. Some of you know him. He's a professor in South Africa, who is very objective, by the way. He's very, very objective. He's stayed very consistent. He is also predicting that Brian Mundibele has won this election. So let's find that video from Mwamba today. Yeah, this is Sichua. He's a very, very, very smart guy, man.
You lost me because I don't want to leave the listeners behind.
Yes, Doc,
I need to call Emmanuel. So my friend, one of my closest friends, is actually very good friends with Emmanuel Mwamba in Seattle. And I need to call him and give him some audio advice, because he seems to have some struggles with the audio. Like he's not taking care of the background noise. It's a lot of static noise in the background. So if you're hearing that, that's not coming from here. I might be able to control it a little bit in OBS, but we'll see. Let this play out. If it's so bad, I'll get into my OBS and see if I can clean up the audio a little bit. Let's keep going.
you are just explaining that as a student and teacher of history, you want to refer to history and arrive at a decision where people understand why we are where we are. So you began to illustrate our history.
Yes. So I was making the point that we, as a country generally, we are a country that really has very little regard for history. And it saddens me greatly because we can't really understand where we are without understanding our past. And I started by locating the 2026 election within the context of history to say that it was the first competitive election that President Hakainde Hichilema has ever managed in his political life. The 2006 election that brought him to the helm of the then main opposition, United Party for National Development, UPND, and the 2021 election that secured him the Zambian presidency.
Jeda is saying, let's not talk about federal black agents like ATT when we are talking about African business. Yeah, today we're talking about African business, man. They wanted us to talk about African business. Today we're talking about real African business, you know? But yeah, I think he probably feels bad for how he treated me because I had always been nice towards him. And, you know, I think what the response I've given him is proportional enough. I don't think I'll make any more videos about him. But if he strikes again, we will strike, you know, like LT. I think that's it. I won't make any more videos about him until he strikes. I only respond. If they hit us, we hit them, right? But if they don't hit us, then we're good. We'll leave him alone. Thanks for your support there, Jada. Let's keep going.
Yeah. We're both organized by his own friends. Now, precisely because those elections were credible, Hichilema won. But between 2006 and 2021, he never, even once, held a democratic election in the UPND. Perhaps he was fearful that an open contest might lead to his ousting in the wake of repeated electoral losses in 2006, in 2008, in 2011, in 2015, and 2016.
I don't think so, though. So I don't think Shishua is right here. I think that because of the need, Hichilema is a very rich guy. Hichilema is worth $700 million. And that's very conservative, okay? And that's before he became president, all right? So I'm sure right now his net worth is probably at least $1 billion. So he's a very rich man. So Hichilema, and in Africa, money wins. I don't think the UPND has a second in command that would have primaried Hichilema out and won 2021. Hichilema won 2021 for rebranding. They won because of PF's arrogance. For my Zambians in the chat, you guys remember the last 2 years of the PF administration, they were very, very arrogant. There was a dude called Bowman Lusambo. You guys probably remember him. I know Zambian politics very well, by the way, right? I know it just as much as a regular Zambian does. There was a dude called Bowman Lusambo, okay? He was a character. And then even Kambwili. I don't know, where is Kambwili now? If you guys are still here, Zambians that are here, let me know in the chat. Where is Kambwili, right? There were characters like that, Lusambo, Kambwili, who became very arrogant. And then there was some cadres, right? These cadres that took away lots of money. They were flexing money on Facebook. I mean, I'm talking hundreds of thousands of dollars on Facebook, just flexing it to the population. So the people hated the PF. That's why they went on this long-winded 5-year rebranding. But one thing that the PF, even with all the major accomplishments that I just mentioned about the UPND, which they've done amazing work macroeconomically, but not on the ground, people haven't really felt the impact. With the PF, people actually felt the impact. And that is because the PF prioritized infrastructure. They were building roads. They were building hospitals. They built 2 new airports, actually refurbished the one in Livingston. So 3 airports, world-class airports. Actually, the airport in Lusaka is one of the best in all of Africa. It's brand new. It's nice. It smells new when you get in there, right? So this was all work that was done under Edgar Lungu. So Zambians can always point to things that President Edgar Lungu actually did, right? But so even though the UPND has had macroeconomic success and has stabilized the country economically and made it very attractive for investment, people haven't felt that money in their pocket yet, right? And that is one of the things that going into the election was very difficult for the UPND. They had to tell the people that, hey, we've stabilized macroeconomically. The next 5 years will now bring more money into your pockets. That is the hard sell. They had to sell that, which I think they were on the right track to make that happen, because macroeconomics is very hard. Once you've been able to do that, you have this path to now help people in your country economically. And I think Akende Hichilema has done an incredible job when it comes to macroeconomics. But the opposition will always be able to tell people, hey, how are you living now? Where are the roads, right? Where are the schools? Well, that's where the PF had that strength. And Africans like to see infrastructure. They like to see government spending. Even if government spending is not a good thing, they want to see government spending money on infrastructure and roads and hospitals and stuff. And that's where the PF had an advantage. The PF has an advantage delivering for the people what exactly they need in terms of infrastructure. But they lack macroeconomic discipline. That's why the Kwacha struggled. The UPND guys are more long-term thinking. They are more for making sure the markets are open, sound, the currency is not devalued, and then they hope that will trickle down to the population. And explain that to somebody in the village, in Dundumwezi, right? They're not going to understand that. This is the hurdle that the UPND had to cross. And for the PF, they can politic as usual and tell the people, hey, how are you living now, right? And this is why we have such a close election. I was not expecting this election to be close. I was never even going to cover it. But this is really shit close, man.
The result of that demonstrated lack of commitment to democratic politics. And the keen observer of Zambian...
I'm going to try and find the time marker where he talked about what numbers he thinks they have. I think it's probably somewhere here.
Disowned me as not their employee, under pressure, of course, from the PF at the time. But what happened most was that after the election, you reached out to my lawyer, Musa Mwenyans, and sought an out-of-court settlement.
Yes.
Again, for me, it wasn't personal. I just felt
I remember that.
fine. I asked Musa to say, I asked Musa to say, what is the lowest amount of money that one can get from a court of this kind, a civil case of this kind? Musa said, well, why the lowest? You can get more. I said, no, I'm not interested in the money. For me, I was defending a principle to say there must be civility in public debate. So he said, it's 30,000. I said, fine. You write to Ambassador Mamba that I accept the proposal that we should have this matter out of court, settled out of court, on condition that A, he pays 30,000, B, he apologizes, and C, he settles the legal fees that have accrued so far. And you very generously were agreeable to all those conditions without a fight, and that's how that matter ended. But even when I got them, now, it was on that score, on those police failures, that dismal record in office that explains why I said the president was going to lose. In fact, the first time I said that the president was going to
Okay, so I think we found a minute marker. So let's go back a little bit where he talks about why he thinks that the president was going to lose. He's going to say his reasons for why he thought that. And then we're going to project into the data and see what the data looks like right now, right? We're going to look at both sides of the debate. I want to see what he says because Seshua has been very right on most of their elections. So I really have to give him his props because I know he knows his numbers. Jada is saying, okay, I did read that. Let's not talk about it. Your chats have been very slow today. Is it my stuff that is acting up? Love Hate says, we need to keep reminding Africans of our tough heroes and soldiers. Yeah, I agree.
We condemn them. They happen under Chellah, we keep quiet. We are using different standards to judge people over the same thing, and that is not right. Then you had so many people, members of Chellah, who were accused of engaging in corruption. The ACC looked away. Leadership is...
Let me know if you guys can hear the playback. It's a little bit faint in my ear, but let me know if you can hear the playback. If it's not good enough, I think I can boost it a little bit. So let me know. Let me know in the chat if you can hear the playback or if you guys need me to process the audio a little bit. I have a few tools that I can put on to maybe increase the volume or to kind of add some dynamic range to it. So let me know if it's playing out okay. I'll keep it like that. If you need me to add a bit more boost, I can help a little bit with that sound.
By example, the president pledged during the campaign to say, under the European leadership, ministers would declare their assets annually. Okay, and I'll lead that effort myself. Ichilema comes to power. He reneges on those commitments. Not once has he declared his assets. It's important for leaders to declare their assets, even when the law doesn't provide for that, because you are leading by example. That way, your subordinate can then say, "Let me follow my leader and do the same." Declaration of assets.
I agree. I agree that they have to declare their assets. They have to show the audience, and we've talked about this on YouTube too, right? Remember, I get people say, and Jada and a few of you, you've heard this over the last 2 weeks, right? Where people make claims about me that are not true, but they just want to put it out there on Front Street so that it feels like it's actually true. And you can ignore it. Most people will ignore it, but what I've realized with the American audience is when you ignore things like that, it's going to travel. It's going to travel, and then people are going to form those narratives about you. So if they are lies, you have to put it out there. You have to. You always want to show exactly the true story because you are the only person that can tell your story. Don't let the media and social media tell your story. You have to tell your story, okay? This is why sometimes it's important for me to be open and a little bit transparent because these guys can come back 4 or 5 years from now and say, hey, because of us, that's why you live here. Because of us, that's why you're doing this. Because of us, that's why you own this vehicle. And I know I had my shit together before I came on YouTube. So that you don't come back. Because I saw them do that to Anton Daniels. Like, oh, Anton was broke. Before he came on YouTube, he was broke. So he made all his money on YouTube. That's actually kind of true, right? It is true. If you look at some of the stuff that people put out, it is true. Most of his 99% of the money he's made has come from YouTube. And the rest is later on, right? Because you get the first boost, then it goes out, and then you can build something. But that doesn't apply to me. I have my shit together before I came on YouTube. Okay? So that's why I declare my YouTube earnings. I show my YouTube earnings to my subs. Every month I show it to you guys. so that people don't make that claim, because it's very offensive when you've worked hard and then people look at you and say, because of YouTube, that's why you have this. And that shit pisses me the F off. So I want to put it out there, right? I always want to put it out there so that 10 years from now, you can look back and say, oh, okay, no, this is not true. This is not true. Absolutely not true, okay? Let me know how we sound, because I've built a booth in the office now, so I have a lot more sound control today. This is our first live stream after I built the booth, but this sound blankets are too thick, so it is hot, man. My face is burning. I'm gonna have to go turn up my AC a little bit.
Yeah, just a minute. A few days ago, you issued one of your strongest statements. You stated that President Chellah will lose this election. This was prior to voting, unless he engaged in industrial, you use the word industrial rigging. The events of the last 24 hours, an attack on a leading candidate in the presidential race, an attack on polling stations and totaling centers by both UPND thugs and by the military, by the way. It's like your words are coming true. Just speak to your very strong statement where you predicted that it's unlikely for President Chellah to win this election. And why did you say that? And then you qualified it that unless he engages in industrial scale rigging.
I said that because, as I was saying, when it comes to bigger national issues, a state of democracy, and getting the best of the minerals, I didn't discuss this in detail because I wanted to mention the point about first quantum minerals and the report from Global Witness that came out where it shows that you have reached a mass relationship with mining capital that has taken over $700 million from Zambia's coffers for the benefit of this Canadian multinational, according to Global Witness, that is. And then you had the same report saying the president benefited in terms of a pledge of $50 million for his campaign, and he had lots of money during the campaign. Then you had the dismal fight on sham corruption fight. You had the division that his government entrenched in terms of ethnic division. If you look at the public service now, it's like to be appointed to public service position, you need to be from the Zambezi provinces. The Zambezi is what comes to where the Zambezi passes. The Zambezi region comes to where the Zambezi river passes, northwestern, western, and southern province. There are so many Tongas in key positions now across the civil service, as if the members and the Easterners are not good enough for second-class citizens. That's something I opposed when those on the receiving end were Tongas. But now that those on the receiving end are members and Easterners, I felt that the president failed as well.
So that is something that is, as somebody that is, again, very close to Zambia, that was one of the biggest shock to me. I remember when Hakainde Hichilema was campaigning in 2020 into 2021, he said that he was going to dismantle the tribalism that had existed with the PF employing most in top key positions, mostly Bembers and Eastern Province people, right? Because Zambia has something called tribal cousins, so you can be of different tribes, but they can be cool with the other tribe. And that had historically sidelined Tongas from the south, and then the Nkoyas and the Lozis of the west and the northwest. So Hichilema was going to be a breath of fresh air where there was tribal inclusion, where the true spirit of Kenneth Kaunda, which is one Zambia, one nation, was going to fester in Zambian political ranks. But this guy, and this is again my own personal experience because I know a lot of folks, it hasn't been the case. He's really put his people in key positions, and he's done that. It looks as if on the surface, it looks very tribal. And that is very unfortunate for Zambia because Zambians are miles ahead of Ghanaians when it comes to tribal elements, right? So that was very shocking to me. So, if he wins the election, I think he needs to really address that. He needs to address that because the Bembers have really, really been sidelined in Hichilema's administration, which could explain why they are really losing Luapula, Northern, because the Bembers are the majority tribe, right? I could be wrong, but I think they are. But that's why they are losing Luapula, or they've lost Luapula, they've lost Northern, they've lost Eastern Province. They've lost Muchinga overwhelmingly. And we don't know about Central, but they've lost the Copper Belt. Those 5 provinces is enough to force a second round. It's also enough to put pressure on the UPND to win Lusaka. They have to win Lusaka. Let me deviate to Rainbow the God real quick. Today we are handling African business. You're saying TMI was cooking. He's not cooking anything, man. The guy, every 10 seconds in his video, he's asking for Cash App. These are struggle YouTubers, brokies, struggle YouTubers. They just want attention because of what we're doing here, right? They want attention. I'm deviating a little bit off topic. Yeah. We're gonna bottom the hell out of here. These are kids, man. I'm gonna fuck with him since he wants to fuck with us, right? But yeah, I think we'll address it in tomorrow's live stream. This guy's, bro, Rainbow. If he's a tough dude, let him go to Kenya. Keys and the Big Cheese, they are streaming from the couch. Why are they not in the streets? My people are looking for them. My people are, I'm saying it right now. My people are looking for them. Let them not slip up one time. We are buying memberships. We are watching their private videos. We are watching them like a hawk, man. We got cameras on them. Their every move, we are watching them. So TMI Santiago, go ahead and test it out. You know? Hey, and if he wants, I can him. He's a fat fucker. I can whoop his ass right here in the US. He doesn't even need to go to Kenya. I can whoop his ass right here in the Tell him I'll whoop his ass right here in the US. He doesn't even need to go. Yeah, let him stay away. Why is he talking about Africa if he's not going? Because he's a pussy. Sorry. Today is serious business, but anyway. Yeah, let him stay out there with the little people in Thailand. Let him stay out there. Let him stay out there. That's why he needs the Cash App. He was begging too much when I went to his live stream. He was just begging for money. These are low lives, man. Rainbow, you shouldn't be listening to idiots like that.
As well on that score. Then I was mentioning the fact that the civil service is very, very politicized. For example, the cost of living has never been higher, and most Zambians live in subhuman levels of existence. Now, it was on that score, on those policy failures, that dismal record in office that explains why I said the president was going to lose. In fact, the first time I said that the president was going to lose, if you go to my Twitter page, was on 27th June this year, when I predicted that Zambia's president will lose the 2026 election unless he rigs it on an industrial scale.
You know what? Let me open up, and I know this is short notice, but let me go to my X account. The only social media that I have, right? I only have X because these motherfuckers keep trying to dox my shit. So I no longer have Facebook. I just have X. I no longer have Instagram. I don't have LinkedIn. I deleted my LinkedIn like 4 years ago, so I don't have LinkedIn at all. That's why there's no employment record of me on the internet, right? They'll never find it. No matter what they do, they'll never find it. They'll never find it because it doesn't exist. I'm not on any job websites. None of that shit, man. What is his name? Where is he? Joshua. Sure. All right, so let's go to. Let's see what he's been posting. What's today's date? Today is the 15th. So he hasn't made a post today. But he was on France 24 today. He's big time. He goes on very big media. So he was on France France 24 today, and he made some comments there. We might catch it on this stream. I just want to make sure I'm following some of his latest updates on the election. Okay, so we'll get back to his thing today on France 24. Let's catch a little bit of why he thinks the president is going to lose.
Somebody or pre-ballot death happened. Now, pre-ballot death happened. Rather, pre-ballot death was misunderstood, and I don't think I was calling for his death. No.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rainbow. Yeah, I watched them, not really out of boredom, but I watch them to just understand how they think. You know, of course, I'll never be influenced. You know, you can watch and not be influenced, right? So I watch, I'm never going to be influenced by it, but I just watch to understand how they're thinking. I feel bad for them. I really do. Like, I really feel bad for them. You know, there are two thought processes of humans, right? I'm going to deviate a little bit and then we'll get back to topic. Some people can favor developing countries and say, hey, you know, if I can make $1,000 a month, it's better than the hood. If I can live in a 5-star apartment in Thailand, right? So this is the TMI Santiago guy. I can live in a 5-star apartment in Thailand if I can raise $1,000 a month on YouTube versus come in the US and work a regular job and live in a hood where every shit is like paycheck to paycheck, right? So it's a way for them to feel rich, even though they are broke. It's a way to feel rich. This is why a lot of black men have left the US and they are looking to live in the poorest countries of the world. They are literally picking out the poorest countries of the world to date because the women are broke. They are picking the poorest countries of the world to live in because their living expenses are low. What does that mean? That means they cannot compete at the level of their home countries. They will never get the best women. You know, Afro Think Tank was saying all this crazy shit. Brother, if you got dough, you got women. I don't care what part of the world you live in. You got money, you got women. I don't know what they are talking about. A man's first doorstep into mating is financial stability, not your hairline. Fuck that shit. For you to get a quality is financial stability. You know, a lawyer will not marry me if I don't have financial stability. If I don't make more than a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? That is the point that they are trying to run away from. So TMI Santiago, or whatever the fuck his name is, he cannot live here. He's running away from living in the ghetto where he belongs. That is why he's in Thailand sleeping with those chiquita bonitas. He cannot compete. His women have out-earned him. Black women in America have out-earned all these men. Your black women in America are making more money than all these goats. That's why they are gallivanting all over the world, not knowing what to do with their lives. They are losers, including O'Shea Duke Jackson. Why is he not coming into the US to pay premium like I am paying here? I pay premium, right? I live streamed yesterday from the house. You saw it. I pay premium. Why isn't O'Shea in the US paying premium? I work remotely. I can go live in Africa. And like we're talking about Zambia today, I have 6 houses in Zambia on a plot. 6 houses. I go live rent-free in Zambia. 6 houses in Zambia rent-free. You know, my guard is living on my property for free. He's living better than I'm living here. The guy that my caretaker is living much better than I'm doing. He doesn't pay a water bill because we have the water system. We have a solar system. He doesn't pay for electricity. He gets a stipend and then he lives rent free. That's what my guy is doing at home. He's living on my property rent free. 600 hectares rent free. TMI Santiago is in Thailand because he can't afford to compete in America. O'Shea Duke Jackson is in Uganda because he can't afford to compete in America. It's too expensive. It's that school of thought that says, I've given up on competition, so I'm going to go live with the broke people of the world and feel rich. It's a feel rich. It makes you feel that for the first time in your life, you're richer than somebody. That's why they go there. This is the only time in their life they felt rich. But I live in America, in Prosper, which is one of the most expensive zip codes in Texas, with the rich people competing with the rich people. That's two different sides of the coin. So TMI Santiago can sit there and talk all the crap he wants, but he's failed to compete in America. He has no skill, no children. If he has children, he's probably a deadbeat, left them alone and ran off to Thailand. Couldn't get a secure relationship here. Shaniqua would date me in America. I heard the story of an FBA lady. What is the name? Love Jones. He's dating a tether. She's dating a tether. Why is she dating a tether? She's dating a tether because she can't afford. Their boys can't afford to date her. So she's going for the tether D. Tether's up, man. I'm telling you. These guys are jokers. They are jokers, man. Anyway, let's keep on the story. Let's keep on the story so we don't confuse our Zambian fans.
I was discussing a constitutional provision that says if any of the candidates who have vowed to stand for election die before election day, the presidential election shall be cancelled. And because I wanted to know who are going to be the candidates in the subsequent election, I couldn't speak that election. So it was a general statement, not specifically chairman, because even if Sishu was a candidate in the election and he dies before the election would have been postponed because you need to give a chance to the affected party to nominate somebody else. That's what the law says. Then the issue of industrial scale was very clear to say, given all those policy failures, why would voters return him to office, given the fact that he's the one who has presided over those policy failures? My fears came to pass this week, Ambassador, after the 13th of August vote. I'm a researcher. I speak to different people in government, in opposition, in civil society, in church. Sometimes people reach out to me in confidence of their own, and I verify what they share with me, and they do so in confidence. I can now reveal for the first time that HM has managed to steal the election, and that the Electoral Commission of Zambia will be announcing him as the winner before long. HH has managed, Ambassador, to achieve this outcome using his allies in the electoral body. The ECZ, as you know, is led by 5 commissioners. After becoming president in 2021, HM declined to renew the contracts of 3 of the 5 commissioners who were appointed by President Lungu and who managed his victory in 2021. I think there was Esau Chulu, who was the chairperson. There was Emily Skazwe, who was the deputy chairperson, and there was the last one whose contract wasn't renewed was Alice Mwika. All of these could have had their contracts renewed, for example, if the president wanted, but he never renewed any of them. Instead, he replaced them with his former personal lawyer, Wangara Zarumisi, who now...
Okay, so now he gets into some conspiracies and some allegations. Yeah. Hey, tell him, man, if he wants to keep his YouTube hustle up, he needs to find another person to fight with. Rainbow, if you're still here. Yeah, tell TMI, if he wants to keep his YouTube hustle going, he needs to stay off this because he'll wake up one day, his channel will be gone, man. We bought the shit out of him to the point where YouTube was like, nah, get him the fuck out of here, man. He needs to go look for a guy called, what is his name? Carlos Red. Tell him, does he know Carlos Red? If he wants to play the game, some of us are professional hackers. Let him keep playing those fucking games with us, man.
Thanks for the sub.
Let him play those games with us. But let's go. Welcome, Mr. Malinga. Let's find out. We want to see. So we play Lilian Mutambo. We've heard from Shushua and Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba. We're going to see. I want to hear what Chellah Tukuta has to say. So we're going to look for Chellah Tukuta. And then we're going to look for, because we're playing both sides. So we want to balance this out because I'm not UPND and I'm not PF, right? I'm just a Ghanaian man married to a Zambian that has property in Zambia and I love Zambia. So I really follow Zambian politics. I know it very, very well. I probably know it better than Ghanaian politics, right, at this point. So almost the same. But anyway, I like to learn. So I learn all this shit. People don't understand how I know all these things, but I do. I know all these guys. I know all the stakeholders. I know all the controversial guys. So we played CR1, we played Lilian Mutambo, we've played Emmanuel Mwamba, we've played Shishua Shishua. We're gonna see if JJ Banda. I'm skeptical to play JJ Banda because he never speaks English. But let's hope he does. So let's see what JJ Banda has to say. For context, JJ Banda was a member of parliament. He got run out of Zambia with some allegations. So he's in exile somewhere in Europe. Okay, so he's not a friend of the ruling party. And then we're gonna get Chilufya Tayali, who I think is a very reasonable guy, but he's shaky too. But we'll get his point of view. And then we'll go to Chellah Tukuta. Then we'll go back to ECZ to see if there's been any updates. We'll check on Diamond TV to see if any updates have been trickling in. So let's see what JJ Banda has to say.
The story. Some of them Taukawana now.
So JJ Banda, like I warned you guys, it's gonna be hard for us to get him in English, but I think there are Zambians in the chat, so we're gonna play it either way. And when he does speak English, it's also very tricky. All right, so just warning you. I'm just letting you know.
How do you feel, Taukawana? Ukamba branch Taukawana. Huh? So Ija many bataya it was a stage managed. I want to tell you now everything the way it is. The president is still under capture. That one was a stage managed. You see? It was a stage managed. And I'll give you little news. So share first. Share. That was a stage managed. The president is still under capture. The president is still under capture.
So what he means president here is Brian Mundubele, because he belongs to the Tonse Alliance, right? So when he says the president, he means the president of the party, not the president of the country, who is Hakainde Hichilema. So we're not talking about HH here. He's talking about the reports coming out of Lusaka that Brian Mundubele has been not really arrested, but there's been some intimidation that has been happening. And some authorities around his, they use the word compound, but compound here means his residence, because these guys don't have small houses. They don't have 4,200 square foot houses. These people have 30,000 square foot houses. Okay, so that's what it means. Let's keep going.
The president is still under capture. That was a stage managed. That was a stage managed. Kainde Ichirema. Miracle. You are still doubting to say, I can see what is in front. You are still doubting Kainde Ichirema. Kainde Ichirema. You are still doubting. Are you sure you are still doubting? That was stage managed. Hakainde Ichirema, stop praying that nonsense. You are praying nonsense now to say, no, this. You start making someone who is the president like a fool. You stage managed. No. We are not going to allow. I'll inform the people the way it is. That's all. Imwenai Mosati has been released. That's fake. That's fake. Wait for the update. Not that fake stories are telling you, no, this and this, no, this. No. Hello? Yes. Kashitengoni vinangu. Not miracle. Not miracle. Not miracle. Mwapa sana kanamba katika OP. You think miracle sangana? Kafiki ngeni vinangu. We told you to say, Hakainde Ichirema, this battle is between Mulungu na Satana. It's between God and the devil. The devil is you. Iwe, get out to come at BM as a pachanja, naiwe. Nifa boza vija. Embekeza update ya netufuna mpasani. How many minutes? 6. Okay, we can test it.
So yeah, this guy had a very daring escape. He managed to get out of prison or hospital. He was under detention while in hospital, and he managed to escape, and he left the country. He lost his seat. He was a member of parliament. He lost his seat. They kind of did him dirty. I'll be honest. I'm just keeping it in the middle. They did him dirty. So he's living in exile, and he has some asylum, which is factual. Yeah, he's supposed to get it. So people like this, they need the election to go to Brian Mundimule so they can return home, because he doesn't want to live in Europe. He wants to live in Zambia. This guy is a wealthy guy. He has, he has 2 wives, chilling in Eastern Province, and he had to give it all up to go live overseas, right? So I think, again, this is JJ Banda. We'll do a little bit of everybody so we have a more balanced approach, because I don't have particular stake in this. Or I do have a stake in it. May the best candidate win, but I don't pick a side, right? Because I don't care who wins. I did okay in Zambia under PF, and I did okay in Zambia under UPND. As long as the transition is peaceful. Zambia is hot right now. Zambia is attracting a lot of foreign investment. Zambia has very good education, infrastructure, land, property. I could go on and on and on. It's a great country. So I want the best for them. I really do. I really love these people, and I want the best for them. So whoever wins, wins. But again, these guys do have a lot of stake in this. That's why they feel this way. And I understand them. My job here is to bring all the elements in so that we can have a decent prediction as to who is winning this election, all right? So that was this guy. We played Lilia Mutambo. I want to see what Chellah Tukuta has to say. I think Chellah will have to be on Facebook. So let's see if I can find... Let's see if we can get Chellah Tukuta so that we get somebody from the UPND side. Let's see if we can get Chellah Tukuta. See what he has to say. Oh man, his page is private, so I won't be able to access it. What about Simon Moewalen? Simon Moewalen. Did he win? Did SML TV win? My Zambians in the chat, let me know. The chat has been too quiet, man. That's not so usual of my live streams. Annie Mwinga, salute, welcome to the show. JJ Banda, you're enjoying the show. How come I don't see your chat? Let me try one more time to see if it'll come in. Let's see. Okay, so I'm just gonna do a check just to see if it's working. Okay, so it is working. There you go. I can see. Welcome, Annie. Welcome, Annie. Let's go and see. Yeah, JJ Banda is a character, man. JJ is... But as you can see, I heard Gary Nkombo lost Mazabuka. That was very surprising to me. I thought Gary was going to pull that off, but I guess Mazabuka, which is Southern Province, I guess they're very loyal to the president. So that was expected. Let's see if we can get Simon Moewalen, because that's an interesting character. That's an interesting character. I don't have a Facebook. I had to cancel my Facebook because of doxers. So now I'm having to watch Facebook without an account. And it just won't let me. It won't let me watch it, man. The page isn't available right now. What happened to Simon Moewalen? What happened to his... This may be because of a technical error. Has he taken down his Facebook? And congratulations to him. He's at 1 million. I didn't know he's gone up to 1 million. That's interesting. Congratulations to him. But I know he has he's on TikTok. So how about let's employ some TikTok here. Let's try TikTok. Let's try TikTok. I do have a TikTok, so I think I can find him. Simon Mwewa Lane. I didn't spell that right, but Mwewa. So he's changed this to Mwewa Television. And let's see. Is he going to be our next mayor of Lusaka? Let's see. What is the latest coming out of Simon Mwewa Lane? So he was adopted under the UPND. Let's watch a few of his last.
Zambia? Zambia! Thank you. 2 days before we decide the future of this country in 2 days, it takes less than 2 minutes for you to walk into the booth, look at the candidates, select, and walk out. In 2 minutes, you decide what's going to happen for the next 5 years. So be very careful how you vote. We in this building believe the best choice is Hakainde Hichilema.
So let's see. What is his... So he hasn't made an update. Did he lose? That's not very typical of Mwewa Lane. No, democracy works. Zambia has had very good transitions. I mean, Edgar Lungu was very popular and he lost. And they transitioned to Hakainde Hichilema. There's always a little bit of tension, but Zambians they've really gotten it right. And my Ghana has always gotten it right. So I know there will be a little bit of tension here and there, but Zambians have historically got it right. Annie is saying, oh man, Simon Mwewa Lane lost. Lusaka really needed him. Lusaka needed him. So who won Lusaka mayor then? I know Simon Wheeler was trying to run for mayor as well. I don't know if Simon Wheeler won, but I thought he could have been a good candidate too because he has a business mind. So Simon Wheeler, Simon Mwewa Lane, either of them for mayor for Lusaka, I think that would be great because Lusaka is a great city, man. I know a lot of my fans are big on Nairobi, but I like Lusaka. Nairobi is kind of like, I like Nairobi for the weather year round. I like Lusaka for the winter weather. I like Lusaka for the rainy season. I do like, contrary to most, I like it for the rainy season when it doesn't flood. But nowadays it's been flooding a lot with all the development going on. But Simon's thing is off on Facebook, so that's very shocking to me. Or just because I haven't been able to log in. Oh, there we go. Let's see. Let's see what he's up to. Well, that's why he lost, because he jokes too much and these people don't take him too seriously. Zambians are serious people, man. They don't take this man seriously, man. They don't do. Let's see. He hasn't really done any post, which is very surprising. Where is he? Let's see. But a guy I want to cover right now is Tayali. I want to see what Tayali has to say because Tayali is my guy. I like Tayali. I want to see what Tayali has to say. So let's look him up. Chellah Tayali. Tayali is my guy. I want to see because I know he definitely has something to say. The public lawyer. My Facebook is really failing me today. Now, I don't know what side Tayali has been on, but Tayali's just posted that someone must advise Brian Munibile to stop talking and just concentrate on counting his votes. All right. Is he now with the UPND? But if he is with the UPND, why has he left Zambia? Okay, so he was live 9 hours ago. That was pretty new. Let's see what Tayali has to say. Now, Caution to my American audience, because this guy sometimes just doesn't do it in English. Even though he speaks very good English, probably one of the best English out of Z commentators, but he stubbornly will just not do it in English. All right. Now, JJ Banda, the guy you listened to before, he's not a friend of the English language, which is okay. I like that I'm doing this, even though not my usual audience is watching it, but I have to cover Zambia. I love this place. I got to cover it. Where is this audio? Come on, Tayali. Don't fail me. Come on, buddy. Where is your... Let's go back here. I should have created a Facebook account because Zambians do everything on Facebook. Come on. What's going on?
In this video is that let us look at each other. This is the
Okay. Not doing what I wanted to do. Let's see. Is that me? Facebook wants me to log in, and there's nothing to log in because I don't have the means to log in. But let's see.
my man Yobi. But Teddy Kasongo. Max Mwari Shivasana. But Mishek. Yes. 91.
You're having trouble playing this video. Why? They don't want the video to be played. But so far, so this is the tally out of the 22 constituencies. Has Brian Mundubile at 161K. Hakainde Hichilema at 243K. But this is what I'm saying. These numbers looks very good for Mundubile because a lot of the constituencies have come from strongholds plus Lusaka. So strongholds for UPND is Northwestern Province, Solwezi area, Western Province, Mongu and the rest. Then you come down to Southern Province. So for my American audience, that will be your Livingston, Mazabuka, Choma, Pemba. Although I've been to all those places. That is your Southern Province. Mwasabombe. What is the other town? There's a town that Zambians laugh at because they always vote 100% for the president. Dundumwezi, right? So those are the numbers that have come in. So it is very understandable. But I don't understand this because Tayali is in exile. So why is he rooting for the ruling party if he's in exile? I don't get that part. Because I know he used to be PF, and then when these guys came into power, he switched to them. But he's a very controversial guy. So he's never shy of criticizing even the guys he likes. So I don't know what has forced him to move to Malaysia if he's still out there. The last time I heard he was in Malaysia. But like I said, when we look at the numbers, and we're going to go over it here shortly, Brian Mundubile is looking very, very good. He's looking very good. He's looking very good. He's looking. We'll go over we'll go to ECZ. We'll take the 22 constituencies. We'll look it up and see where each one of them came from. And you're going to see that except for Lusaka, the overwhelming majority have come from strongholds for Hichilema. So he's supposed to have these numbers. Mundubile is doing exactly what he's supposed to do. Right? He's doing what he's supposed to do. This is not going to be a cakewalk. It's not. It's not going to be a cakewalk at all. And I was expecting it to be a cakewalk. I thought that Hichilema is supposed to win. You know, Chellah is supposed to win. Let's see.
800. So it can't take 4 days to count 800 votes if everybody turns up. Where on earth do you take 3 days to count 800, maximum 800 votes?
You see, one thing is that you can accuse me of being a flip-flop, but I'm very consistent on some of these fundamental issues. I'm very consistent. You can say, no, but yesterday you supported this one, yesterday you supported whatever. I am very consistent on fundamental issues. I am glad that Binwell and the other Tonse boys were sharing this video. You know, they were sharing this video. You know, in this video, let me play it so that you hear. Let me play this video so that you hear the conversation there.
Because they are awfully slow. They are trying to help someone find votes which he didn't get from votes.
By yesterday, they were still totaling up in some centers, and we were told that some of you are requiring your members to verify the results. So how come you have the results?
95%. The voting ended because you don't know the electoral process. They've never participated in elections. The votes are counted in a polling station. Every polling station has no more than 1,000 votes, every stream. I hope you know that.
And they're totaling up at the center.
Let me help you understand things you don't understand. Every stream is no more than 1,000 votes. Am I right, sir?
I got some more lights turned on.
800. So it can't take 4 days to count 800 votes if everybody turns up. Where on earth do you take 3 days to count 800, maximum 800 votes in a stream? We are in every stream. It takes only 3-4 hours, 5 hours maximum to count a maximum of 800 votes in a stream. Tayali. You must ask us what you don't know. You think you know everything, right? You don't know everything. I think no. Hold on. Let's help this guy because he writes a lot of crap out there, right? So the issue is that it takes only 5 hours to count a maximum of 800 votes per stream. Literally, by 18 hours on Friday, the results should have been here. That's the point. Now, because we are in every stream, we already know what they count in every stream. We've done our PVT. That's how we know. Does that help you?
Mr. President, according to what you have.
Let him understand.
So the PVT for the non-Zambians here, the PVT is like a duplicate slip that like a carbon copy of the votes, where they give one slip to each party. And then they can, in this case, there's maybe 3 major guys running, right? There's the Socialist Party, Fred Membe, right? I think that's him, Fred Membe for Socialist Party. Then there's Hakende Chilema and Brian Mundibele. There's other parties, but I'm just talking about the people that will make at least 3% of the vote, right? Because Harry Calabar and all these guys are not going to win. They're not going to get anything, right? They're just there to fill a slot. When you take these guys, they all get a carbon copy of the votes, whoever voted. So they can tally it up and see what votes they got so that the numbers can sync up with ECZ. The only difference is that the ECZ can also nullify some votes, like the people that didn't vote in the right spots, didn't follow instructions, they duplicate votes. That's people that voted in 2 different constituencies when they're not supposed to. So that's when the ECZ fine-tunes those numbers. So that's what they mean by PVT. Let's keep going.
I was in Kawata yesterday. Kawata, Munali, they finished yesterday in the evening.
Okay, I have tried to educate you. You refuse to learn.
Mr. President, one more question. African Union election. According to what you have, what does 95?
Somebody says, iron sharpens iron. I think Zambians say Inshimbi. Is it Inshimbi? And Inshimbi or Inshimi na Inshimbi? That's what Zambians say. Iron sharpens iron. Let me know in the chat, my Zambians. Inshimbi na Inshimbi or whatever they call it.
Done. Have you won? The game is up, it's done. It doesn't matter what someone tries to do, the game is up.
Your win
I didn't say that. You want me arrested? I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
No. First of all, before I go on, you see, this is President Hakainde Hichilema. This is President Hakainde Hichilema when he was in opposition. And he claimed that by that time, he claimed that they had done their PVT, and the results were known to them. Now, if you want, you can play back that video and listen to the words of HH. HH never declared himself winner. He never did. He never did. He never did. He complained about the delay, but he never declared himself winner. And for me, I didn't challenge him on the PVTs. I just told him to say, my issue was give ECZ time. And that is fundamental. That is fundamental. Because in an election, we ought to respect the ECZ. We need to respect that institution.
I think the better solution, especially, and I think the Ghanaians have done that, the better solution is to introduce electronic voting, right? So that the votes are tallied automatically. Then you don't have to do it. Computers can do this for you, man. Even I can write a program to do that. It's very simple. We have to go to electronic voting. That electronic voting, they can come in a booth. You don't even need to buy these fancy machines. You can just do it on an instance that is protected by the ECZ. You come in like this, in like my office right here. You walk in, the page is open, and then you vote, and then you click submit, and you leave. Then the next person comes, you scan your ID, the ID number comes in, you validate the ID, you vote your candidates, you go. And then you just have somebody there to educate the people that are struggling to understand what to do. But when it comes time to enter their votes, they look away and then they exercise their vote. You can do this electronically. After 2 cycles, even the people that always struggle to vote in the rural areas, they'll catch up because they'll know that's how to vote, right? Then you get faster results. But this paper thing of moving ballots and PVT, all that stuff, man, it's trouble. But we have seen Tayali. We listened to Shishua. Let's see what Shishua is saying with France 24.
At the grounds upon which the decision was made, the commission announced that.
To discuss this further, we can now bring in Sishua, a senior lecturer at Stellenbosch University and the author of Party, Politics, and Populism in Zambia. Welcome to the program. So before we talk about the top 2 candidates, let's talk about this suspension of vote counting. It seems rather unprecedented. I mean, the country is considered by many to be one of Africa's most stable democracies. So how concerned should we be about this?
Very concerned. It has never happened before since the Electoral Commission of Zambia was established as an independent body in 1996. It's the first time that the Electoral Commission is suspending vote counting.
So why is that? That was one of the things that really, really caught my attention. I said, why? Because even during the 2021 chaos, counting was always ongoing. So from my African history, when that happens, there's always something fishy about it. And I didn't like that. I really didn't like that. So I'm glad that he's bringing this up because this is the first time that this is happening in Zambia because they don't have this. It doesn't happen.
And I think what is even more worrying are the grounds upon which the decision was made. The commission announced that they were taking the decision because of reported acts of violence in some districts. That contradicts the position of election observers, as well as the president of Zambia, who, at the end of the voting, said the exercise had proceeded peacefully throughout the country. So it was very strange that the commission used unknown acts of violence to base its decision. And then the other point was that if the violence was limited to certain areas, it really did not make sense to suspend vote counting throughout the country. And the Law Association of Zambia, the legal body for lawyers in the country, only yesterday also came in to say there's no law that empowered the commission to make such a decision on a national scale. And finally, the people are also asking the decision on the basis that polling stations are securely, are secured by state officials, the police as well as military police in some cases. So how was it possible that some people came and stole ballot boxes from those polling stations that were heavily guarded? The commission claimed in the statement that some of the ballot boxes were taken away. That, of course, undermines the credibility of the election, because if the ballot boxes were taken away, how do we know that the results that are being announced are actually genuine?
Now, ahead of the voting, Amnesty International had criticized the ruling party for starting to restrict rights and freedoms during campaigning. And now, with this vote counting issue, are we seeing a worrying trend in democratic erosion in the country, do you think?
Yes, 3 days before the vote, Amnesty International issued a report that highlighted the growing authoritarian tendencies, particularly in relation to the rights of peaceful assembly, the freedom of association, and free speech. But that has been characteristic of the current administration over the last 5 years. Political and civil rights have been restricted. A number of repressive laws have been passed that limit civil liberties. And in a sense, the election itself is a referendum on the current administration's commitment to democratic freedoms, because many Zambians, feel that the political space in which they could freely express themselves has shrunk. Opposition parties over the last 5 years were not able to hold public assemblies, and it's only during the campaign period that people were able to associate freely with parties of their choice, and opposition were able to mobilize people through public assemblies. That record contrasts heavily with Zambia's tradition of being, in the context of Southern Africa, a thriving democracy. And many Zambians had expected that the current president, who was elected in 2021, would be different from his predecessors, who also enacted repressive measures and indeed resorted to authoritarian tendencies when dealing with opposition parties.
Now, let's go back to these two top candidates, the President Hichilema and challenger Brian Mundubile. What separates the two candidates? How do their platforms differ?
Well, I think they differ in relation to the fact that the president, Hakainde Hichilema, has been in power for the last 5 years. So he has had a chance over the last 5 years to enact his policies, and voters are able to assess whether he has lived up to the commitments that he had made in the last election. It's the first time that, of course, this is his first term in office. So it's very different from 2021, when he was competing on the basis of what he would do if elected. During this election, he was campaigning on his record, and voters had the chance to assess him on that score. Brian Mundubile has never before been an opposition leader. He was a provincial minister in the previous administration. He was also a member of parliament in one of the rural constituencies in the northern part of the country. He served as government chief whip when the previous governing party was in power, and when it went into opposition, he served for a few years also as leader of the opposition in the National Assembly. So he had the political experience. He's a lawyer by training, and he was really riding on the promise of doing better than the current president on key issues such as anti-corruption, the state of democracy, national unity, and even the policies of mining, a very crucial industry to Zambia's economy. The cost of living, of course, was a major issue as well, and both candidates were, contrasting themselves on that issue, with the president saying, look, we have done what we could, and we can do better if you give us a chance. The opposition leader, Mundubile, saying, the cost of living is higher now than it was in 2021 when the current administration took power. And it was on that score that he was seeking rather voters as mandate.
Now, one of the other big issues we'd heard was the economy being a central theme. the country had been facing a deep debt crisis, and the majority of that debt is owned by China. So, do they have, influence on what's happening in Zambia?
The Chinese?
Yeah, how involved is Beijing?
Not at all. I don't think that external actors had any role to play in the election. Western countries, for example, are distracted by their own priorities. The Chinese, as you know, are very, very good at operating behind the scenes. So it's very difficult to assess the extent to which they're involved in this election. I think if there are any external actors that were involved at all, it's in relation to mining companies and their role in the economy. One of the major issues is corruption, and sometimes corruption is transnational. Mining corporations were accused in the run-up to elections of financing the current president, for example. And there was a report by UK, a body called Global Witness, an investigative body that suggested that First Quantum Minerals, a Canadian mining giant, had benefited in terms of favorable policies from the current administration, and that in return it had pledged to support his campaign. So that was something that concerned voters. But I think the economy was really assessed in relation to the cost of living, because the government was saying we have reduced inflation to single digit, we have increased the foreign reserves, for example, the kwacha, the national currency, is performing better, compared to other currencies outside the country. And on that basis, they pointed to a positive direction on which they sought re-election. But that kind of rhetoric, contrasts with the experiences of ordinary Zambians who are fighting against the high cost of living.
Yeah, that's what we talked about when we started. We talked about how the UPNA looks good macroeconomically, but when it comes to the ground, that money hasn't translated to the ordinary people. So that's where, in my book, if I'm assessing this as objective as I am, I think they've done a good job when it comes to the economics. The macroeconomic outlook for Zambia is so good. But tell that to my Induna in the village, right? Tell that to my Induna. He's gonna say there's no milli meal. And if there's no milli meal, that means the government is not doing well. That messaging is very key. This is why I am very surprised how close this election is, even though these guys are putting it on. When I listen to the UPND side, they seem very confident, but the numbers are not looking good. They're not. I've been able to start my own. I've been able to open a Facebook page, a dummy Facebook page, because I need Zambians sit on Facebook. So I need to be on Facebook. So I created something. Where is let me switch this out. Let me switch out my screen setup. It will not look good temporarily, but bear with me as I do this. Just change the browser here a little bit, and then bear with me as I do this. So let's go to screen. Switch this out. Before you speak, if you're going to speak. Okay, she's not going to speak. I thought my wife was going to speak. Like, before you speak, let me mute. But she's not going to speak. So let's go to this beauty. Let's go to Diamond TV out of Lusaka. Let's see if it's going to shift. Okay, it's not going to shift, but there we go. We got it. So this is Diamond TV. This is the latest. This is from my constituency. Well, I'm not Rufunsa. I'm Chongwe, but I'm close to Rufunsa. So it looks like this is what I'm saying, that for Lusaka province, even the smaller constituencies, HH has to really sweep Lusaka, right? So Rufunsa is coming in almost split, 87, 76, right about 1,100 votes, right? So that's close, right? That's close. He's doing what he's supposed to do. Brian Mundibele is doing exactly what he's supposed to do. We also have results from Mochinga province from Isoka. HH is winning. Overall in Mochinga, Mundibele is winning, but this is one of the rare cases where it looks like Brian Mundibele did very poorly here in Mochinga in this particular instance. Luapula province, I have established already that Brian Mundibele is going to win Luapula, right? So this is one of those numbers here. Again, this is very close. All the numbers we've been looking at are pretty close. But then if you go out east, so this one that came out of Chipata North, this is a big constituency. I mean, for Zambia, like 20 to 30,000 is pretty big for a constituency, right? And Chipata North, look at the margin, right? 16,000 to 7,000. That is, I'm curious to know what the turnout is in Southern Province, because maybe that'll kind of close this out. But he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to win Luapula, Northern, Mochinga, the Copper Belt, and Eastern provinces. If he wins those 5, it doesn't matter what the margin is. If he wins those 5 and he loses Lusaka closely, that's enough to put this into a second round. We have not even talked about Central Province yet. Central Province is going to be the decider in this election. It's going to be. It'll depend how well UPND does in Lusaka. If they lose Lusaka, it's a wrap. They're done, man. So cumulative results out of 49, this is what I was waiting for, because when they were we're going to go back and look at how much is changed from. We'll do some mathematics on this call. We're going to look at when it was at the first update was at 20. So yeah, let me pull out my calculator. We're going to do some numbers on this. That way you know who is doing what, right? So right now I'm writing this down in my notes so that 49 out of 226 constituencies, right? And the results are HH 438 708. Brian Mundibele 351,000. Now this does not matter relatively depending on where it comes out of, right? Okay. It doesn't matter where it comes out of, right? But let me just do a little bit of math here. So let me add this up. If you add these two up, it's gonna be 4. So if you add these two numbers up, 7, 9, 8, 9, 8, 9. Okay, so the last 3 numbers is gonna be 9, 8, 9. So 7, 8, 9, 9, 8, 9. So 789,000, 790,000 roughly, right? 709 out of 790,000 votes, HH will have right about or a little over half of that. So I would say about 54, 55%, right? So there's an 11-point difference so far between the two candidates. What was it before when it was at 22? We'll go back and look for that number. We'll go back and look at what it was when it was the 22% in, what the numbers look like. Maybe Diamond will have it. Let me try to go down and see if they'll have it. The cumulative 22. We're doing some math here, but I want to see if HH is, the more the numbers come in, if it's increasing the tally or if Brian is closing the gap, because HH has always been up since it started, right? That's why I'm trying to go far back to see when we got the first cumulative at 22%. There you go, at 27%. So let me put that in. At 27 out of 226, he had 243,509, and Brian Mundibele had 161,883. So we want to know one percentage difference, and then we also want to know the change. The rate of change between, what is this one at? The first one was at the 49. So we'll compare the two numbers. The time they reported at 27 constituencies, these were the numbers, right? So this is what I'm saying. When they reported this, you see this number right here, HH had 60% of the vote. Mundibele had 39% of the vote. HH was leading by 20%, right? Again, it relatively depends on where they're coming from. Right now, at 49%, HH's lead has been cut to 11%. So Brian Mundibele is doing well as the numbers are coming in. He was down 20 points, 20 percentage points. From 27 to 49 constituencies, he's closed that gap to 11%. You get the numbers that we're doing here? He's cut that number into half, pretty much. He's cut the lead into half. Okay? And what are the constituencies that have come in ever since that time? So this is Luapula, okay, so that's in his favor. Magoye, that's in HH's favor. That's I've been to Magoye. Dundubwezi, that's in HH's favor. We go down to, where else? Let's see if we got some more. A little bit of Northern Province, Senga, that's in his favor. Mochinga. This is what I'm saying. That even if HH get little pockets of Mochinga, usually it's around places where there's government workers. But once you get into the little bit inside, he doesn't do so well. And this is Chinsali, which is the biggest city in Mochinga. And he's funking it up. In Chinsali, you see the gaps, right? The northern gaps are ridiculous. So Mundibele has a claim. You know, a few cases here, like Chasefu HS is doing well in the Eastern Province, but it's still not too great, right? It makes me know that right now, from just the little sample size that we've looked at, Mundibele is winning 5 provinces, hands down, right? A Copper Belt, Luapula Province, Northern Province, Eastern Province, and Mochinga. All 5 provinces are going to be won by Brian Mundibele. That's a given. That's not even arguable. So the question becomes, and those 5 is enough to cancel out Northwestern, Western, and Southern Province. I don't care what the turnout is. Those numbers will cross each other out. The battlefield is now Lusaka, the Copper Belt, and Central Province. This is why I say the numbers will boil down to Central Province, right? If I'm UPND, I don't like this because I don't want this to be decided by Central Province. I want it to be decided solely by Lusaka. But for it to be decided solely by Lusaka, HH was supposed to win at least one of the northern provinces and or at least the central province. So his combination will work if he wins the central province and Lusaka. But if he splits Lusaka to where it's not a big margin, then he has to win central province to win this election. Which makes me feel like I was never expecting this to be that close. It's not a very comfortable lead. It's not comfortable at all. So even if he wins, how does he govern? Which he may pull it off, because you only need 50% plus one, or it'll go to, it has a potential to go to like a second round. But let's say he pulls it off, right? Because you got the government, the courts, you got the government apparatus. Let's say he pulls it off. If he pulls it off, how is he going to govern the next 5 years? Is he going to be more inclusive? I think economically he's going to do well because he has set the foundation for an uplift, right? He's done the job necessary for Zambia to take off. Zambia is doing well right now. He's done the work for Zambia to take off. Will the citizens be patient enough to see that takeoff? Because I think they're going to start taking off right about 2028 is when you're going to see them really, really take off, right? Once it starts to get into a little bit more infrastructure development with some of the money that they've made, with their stable currencies, the foreign investment that they are attracting, I think they are really going to take off in 2028. That's my prediction. Whoever wins this election, even if HH loses, he would have gone down as one of the most stable presidents that Africa ever had because he set the stage. He does have the track record to have set the stage for Zambia's economy to take off. He just didn't have the results of infrastructure that most African electorates look at. They want to see the roads. They want to see money in their pockets. He was not able to deliver that, but he restructured the debt. He stabilized the currency. He stabilized inflation. Those are three fundamental things that you do to be able to take off. Is the population going to accept that and give him a chance? Well, let's say they do. How is he going to govern next? Is he going to be more inclusive? Is he going to address those tribal concerns that Bembers and Easterners have been sidelined? What about political persecution? Emmanuel Mwamba is in exile. JJ Banda is in exile. Chilufya Tayali, who seems to be pro-UPND, is in exile. Why is he in exile if he's pro-party, right? Is there a way for them to resolve their political differences and bring those people home? Because I always, like in Ghana, no matter how our politics get, we always don't have opposition party members running away from the country. But I've seen this happen with Zambia. I saw it under Edgar Lungu, where he also did the same thing, so a lot of people left. And now, and even HH has some issues with that, right? With all the arrests and the harassment. And he came in and he's also doing the same thing. And I think this is why if he loses this election, he would have lost it on the basis of tribe. Like he stuck it to the tribes of the North. He didn't give them opportunity. I'm just going to be honest, okay? HH did not give the Northern tribes opportunity. He did not give the Eastern tribes opportunity. So if he loses this election, he wouldn't have lost it because of his track record in governance and economics, but how he mismanaged tribal relations in Zambia, because it's become very, very obvious. I mean, I have friends in every corner of the Zambian economy. I have friends that are bankers. I have friends that are politicians, I'm actually very close to some big boys in the ruling party, in the UPND guys. And some of them are my very close friends, right? So this is why I said I have to take a very middle pack. And one of my good friends for my Zambians that are watching is Lubinda Habazuka. He's one of my closest friends. And if it wasn't too late in Zambia, I would have called Lubinda to see if he's going to come on the show and tell us what he thinks about the election. So Maybe we can get Lubinda to come on tomorrow. I'll see if I can reach out to him to come on tomorrow to give us his version of the elections. But yeah, looking at the numbers right now, I think it's looking very good. It's really looking very good for Brian Lubinda. I said Lubinda. I was just talking about Lubinda right now. Brian Mundumbele, right? It's looking really good for him. I was not expecting this. As we're seeing it come in, he's done what he's supposed to do in Eastern Province. He's done what he's supposed to do on the Copper Belt. He's done what he's supposed to do in Luapula, Muchinga, and Northern. And now we haven't had a lot of results coming out of Central, right? So that's one of the places that we need to look out for. And Lusaka. We'll see what Lusaka looks like. But Mundibele has done his job, man. He's done what he's supposed to do. He's done what's supposed to do. Like places like Sinazongwe, Mazabuka, Dundumwezi, Mwazabombe, I think if I'm pronouncing those right, he's not supposed to win, right? So those are obvious, right? But right now, as it stands, out of 49, he, from 24, or is it 25? From 27 to 49, he cut the lead into half, which means he's on an upward trajectory. I want to see tomorrow when they come up with more results. By that 100 constituency mark, it's going to be very, very clear. If he's within 5% by the 100 constituency mark, everything we've said here today is going to be true, right? It's going to be true. How long have we been on? 2 hours, 51 minutes. We'll do another 9 minutes. I'm going to cut to see some of the other TV stations. I think there's one called Movie TV, and then there's Camnet. So I'm going to check on all the other sources because we want to be objective. We want to see all the different angles of the debate. So let's ask Movie TV. That's the name of the channel. All right. So this is where we at, right? 438, 351. That represents, let's go back to our numbers. That represents an 11% HH lead out of 49 constituencies. Okay. So out of 49 constituencies. I wish we had a summary of where all the 49 are. I might do this offline. I'm going to tally all the 49 into provinces. Then it'll give us an idea if most of HH's stuff has been read out, or because that's how you know whose money is spent, right? If that 438 represents a lot of Northwest, Southern, then he spent most of his capital, and that's a problem, right? But if it represents a lot more Western and Northern Province, Eastern, and it's still up by this healthy margin, then Mundibele may have spent most of his capital, right? So that's where we're going to look at. Where are those 49 constituencies located? If you cluster them into regions or provinces, where would those come from? If they come from overwhelmingly strongholds of HH, that's a problem. If it comes overwhelmingly from strongholds of Mundibele, that's a problem. But if it's split down the middle, then each one of them has a chance because there's still a lot more counting to go. I mean, we're not, what is it? If you look at this percentage-wise, where are we? 226. We still have 200 plus, 49 now. So we have a little over 100 to go, right? 100 plus to go. So there's a lot more constituencies to grab. There's a lot more votes out there than votes that have been counted, right? So we'll go back and see what else we got here. Okay. Sylvia Masebo has lost, who is also UPND. She used to be the former Minister of Health, I think. So Masebo has lost her seat. Yeah. I think she represented my constituency, which is Chongwe. So she's lost Chongwe. That's where I live in Zambia. I live in Chongwe. So she's lost Chongwe. That's not good. That is Lusaka. They're supposed to be winning Lusaka for this to make sense. So that's not good. Anyway, we're going to wrap this up. Gary Nkombo has lost. That was a big shock to me. I wasn't expecting Gary to lose. That was shocking to me. I think my wife had told me that Gary had lost, and I was like, damn, I wasn't expecting him to lose. He's fallen out of favor with the president. I don't know what his future holds, but that's he had held that seat for 20 years. I hope he doesn't get too dramatic with this. I don't want him to get into trouble, but he only got 10,000 votes and the opponent got 20,000. Yeah. Well, that is also because that place is more loyal to the president. Mazabuka is Southern Province. It's very, very loyal to the president. So this is not good for Gary Nkombo at all. I really like him as a person, but I think he's a little bit too dramatic sometimes. Let's see. Who else is up here? Okay, Tayali has lost. I heard Maki 2 also lost. So it's not going good for our celebrities. But Iris won. Good for her. Iris won. So which one is this? This one just came out from Luapula. Like I said earlier, man, Brian Mundimile is doing exactly what he's supposed to do, which has made this too close to call, right? Too close to call. But anyway, good people, I'm going to wrap it up. Go do some family activities because my kids are back home. I fired up the live stream because everybody left me at home today. I was working. I had 2 contract jobs today. So I was worked about 6 hours today. And then I was like, let me fire up this live stream and talk about Zambia and Zambia's internal politics. Tomorrow we're going to be back to not standard programming, but I may cover this a little bit more because it's a place of particular interest to me, right? So I wasn't expecting my American audience to be here today, but for the new guys that joined us from Zambia, welcome. I think you guys call me Mulamu. And I think I intend to be in Zambia, I think in October. I'll be out there in October. After my wife's birthday, I'm going to jump off and come out to Chongwe in November or October or November, one of those times, around that time, just before the rains go crazy. It's usually when I try to come out that way. All right, good people. On that note, enjoy your evening. This has been your election coverage of Zambia's interesting election. And I hope you guys enjoy your Saturday. I'll see y'all in the next video. Let's see if I got some music for you. I always got some music.